Hello, I'm your host Jim McLean. Welcome to the latest episode of the Banterflix Movie Review Show here on NVTV. Let's see what movies we'll be looking at tonight. We'll be reviewing Jurassic World Dominion, which is out in cinemas now. Our pick of the streams is Fire Island, which is available now on Disney Plus's Star Channel. And our DVD of the week is Red Rocket, which is available on DVD and Blu-ray now. So that's what I've lined up for you this week. And joining me this week in the NVTV studio is two lovely guests. I'm joined by Claire McCullough from Ormeau Community Cinema.
Hello.
And James Oliver, local blogger.
Hey, Jim.
Guys, as always, we have a packed show and we've loads to get through, so we'll kick off and get started with some movie news. So we'll start off talking about the movie news. James, going to come to you first. What has caught your attention in the past 7 days in the world of cinema?
Well, some very, very exciting news. As you all know, my favourite film of all time is Heat, and it was just announced there the other week by Michael Mann himself that it is getting a 4K UHD re-release, and I'm very, very excited for this. I have wanted this film in 4K for so long, and now it's officially happening, and I cannot wait to watch it over and over again, many times in beautiful, stunning 4K. So yes.
And zoom in and enjoy every single pixel in glorious 4K. I've heard this news too, and I know that it's a 4K restoration that's going back to the original print, so it is going to look fab. Claire, have you seen Heat? You're looking at us blankly. I don't know if that's going to anger James, but have you seen this film?
I've definitely seen it whenever I was way younger, but I don't really remember the storyline, but I know who's in it. I know it's Al Pacino, I know it's De Niro, and what is the storyline again? Like, could you refresh my mind?
Well, I'm not the person that's going to refresh your mind. The person that will refresh your mind is James
Make
Oliver.
me watch it again.
Okay, so basically it's Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro plays a cop called Vincent Hanna who basically hunts down men. He's going through his life in turmoil. He's never really able to hold up a marriage. And then he comes across Robert De Niro's character, McCullough. And basically the two go head to head in a cat and mouse game. And to this day, this film features one of the best ever shootout scenes that exists. It is shot in like real time. It's not edited. The sound design isn't edited or anything in it. So like each round that you hear go off is how they're essentially shooting it. And it's just fantastic. And it's just amazing.
All good. So James has sold you on that movie, but what else in the world of cinema has caught your attention?
So this week they announced the name of the new Knives Out film, which is going to be out on Netflix, isn't it, this Christmas? Around Christmas time. So the first one was released around Christmas time too, because I remember going to the cinema to see it, and it's called Glass Onion. I'm just really excited about it. I can't wait to see it. I'm really sad that it's going to be on Netflix, so it's only going to be streamable. I feel like Knives Out is the kind of film that you need to see in the cinema. It's so good. It's the best film of all time, in my opinion.
Okay, so we have two people with naming their favourite films this week. I'll hold off and maybe throw in a reference to mine later on. You've said that Knives Out was one of your favourite films. What was it about particular that film that you loved?
It was so original. Like, I feel like in Hollywood at the minute, we're kind of struggling with original storylines. Everything's sort of a remake or, you know, bringing back franchises, whereas this was just a standalone. It wasn't an adaptation of a book or a TV show. It's a standalone film, and Daniel Craig in that role is just incredible. All the characters were incredible. The storyline, the pacing of it, even the cinematography, like everything about it was incredible. It's a really good whodunit.
Yeah, it is one of my favourite films in recent memory. I'm willing to accept that Daniel Craig will not be James Bond anymore as long as we get more Benoit Blanc,
yeah.
You know, and that southern fried Kentucky KFC accent. I'm a massive fan. I do think Netflix have changed their release strategy, so there is a chance this will get cinematically released. I know Netflix in the last couple of years have started to do things in cinemas, so you may get to see it, Claire, in the cinema. But James, are you excited about another Knives Out? Is the sequel's title, The Glass Onion, is it intriguing you?
Yeah, it's definitely intriguing. I actually got the first one spoiled for me, so I never actually got around to seeing it, and having watched it since because I now know what the ending is. And I feel like with that type of film, if you know the ending, you can't go and see it because it takes away from the kind of suspense and the thrill of it. So I never watched it. However, I do love Daniel Craig and I do love Chris Evans and the whole of the original cast in the first one. So yeah, a second one, I'd definitely tune in to watch it. Just hopefully it doesn't get spoiled for me this time before I get round to seeing it.
Well, the beauty, James, of a film like Knives Out, in all honesty, even if it has been spoiled for you, and we're not going to spoil it now, viewers, we're really not. It's not Daniel Craig, that's all we'll say, right? But you don't really care who does it in the end. The film, in terms of the narrative and its structure, it's that well crafted. You don't care, and the performances are superb. I've already mentioned my man love for Daniel Craig. He is superb in that film. Very quickly, another bit of movie news that caught my attention, especially if you listen to me on Q Radio, but there's been a VHS auction online, and an original copy of the Back to the Future film has sold for over 20,000 unopened in its original seal, and also a copy of the trilogy sold for over 60,000. It just happened to belong to Biff Tannen, the actor who plays Biff Tannen. So yeah, so if you have any copies, old copies of your VHS, check them out, they might be worth some money. So yes, that is enough movie news for now. By the way, my favourite film of all time is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Thanks for asking. But let's just move on and talk about this week's big release.
That's impossible.
Hey, girl.
You look just like your mother.
I promise you, I am gonna get her back. Genetic power has now been unleashed. We made a terrible mistake. The doomsday clock might be about out of time.
So that's a look at Jurassic World Dominion. James, going to come to you first. This is being sold as the epic conclusion of both the Jurassic Park franchise and the Jurassic World franchise. It's all on the screen. It's a lot of dinosaurs. Original cast members are back. Cast members from the Jurassic World sequels are back. What do we think?
It's an epic disappointment, in my opinion. I just didn't enjoy this at all. Fallen Kingdom had the perfect setup at the end, whilst it was in no means a perfect film. It ended that dinosaurs, they're loose in the world, what's going to happen? I don't see how you could have messed that up, but somehow they managed it. It just didn't do it for me at all. The OG cast members coming back was something that I was really looking forward to, but there's no real grand entrance for them, you know. Instead it's just, oh look, it's those guys from the originals. There they are, helping out the new guys, and you're like, oh, okay. They're just treated badly, I think. Editing's very choppy. The dinosaurs CGI is a wee bit off at times. So yeah, I was just... and there's some questionable dialogue in it, including Laura Dern's character saying that he slid into my DMs, which I didn't think that I needed to hear and I didn't want to hear. So yeah, I just didn't like this at all. A bit 2.5 hours, I think, and a bit of a waste of time.
Okay, look, I went in with zero expectations. Those expectations were met, but I wasn't as disappointed as you were, James, and that's probably because I went in with diminished expectations, had no preconception. I didn't think I was going to get a classic. I know our very own Joe McCullough had reviewed it for the website and was very negative in what he said, and I thought it was just a serviceable blockbuster. I agree with everything that you're saying. The sliding into the DMs line, I'll admit it did make me laugh because I could imagine Jeff Goldblum's character doing that in real life. But I think there's some solid set pieces. Yes, the CGI is terrible at times. I still have a problem. I think Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard have no chemistry together as a couple, and I've never bought them from day one in the first film, and I still, two further films down the line, I still don't buy them as a couple. I sit back and I keep talking about this every week, it seems. I'm turning 40 this year. I was watching this film and had a realization that Jurassic World Dominion is not for me. I know people like Bill Taylor have been on the show and talked about having that moment of realization with the Star Wars franchise. Watching it in a packed cinema with a lot of younger viewers who, some of them weren't entertained, a lot of them were, they just clearly just wanted to see big dinosaurs on screen. And they got to see big dinosaurs on screen. There's even dinosaurs with feathers in this one. Yes, the CGI is a bit clunky. Yes, I still have, a lot of love for the original because it's one of the main reasons I love cinema, was for Steven Spielberg's original Jurassic Park. It doesn't hold a candle to it. I think it's a fine, generic blockbuster. Better things will come out this year. Worse things will come out this year. Claire, what about you?
I don't know if anything worse will come out this year. I was just watching it and I was like, why would you do this to that franchise? Like, that has to be the last one ever.
They'll make more.
Do you really think so? It's turning into sort of like the Fast and Furious of the dinosaurs, only Fast and Furious was like more entertaining. I didn't like it. I got about an hour in and I was like, oh, wow, there's another hour and a half of this. What am I going to do? Watched it anyway. I thought the best thing about it was Jeff Goldblum, but I love him anyway. He's amazing in everything, and it's just his charisma as a person. I think he probably held that whole thing together.
Yeah, I mean, at least we get to see a lot more of Jeff Goldblum. If you watch the trailer for Fallen Kingdom, that's pretty much all of Jeff Goldblum you were going to get in that entire film. I think the original cast members are probably the strongest aspect of this film, and it's not me looking at it with the rose-tinted glasses of my love for the original Jurassic Park. There's a big softie in me that loves the fact that Sam Neill's character and Laura Dern's character are getting back together again. I'm sorry, I know it's a bit of a spoiler, but these two have not sold the film, so we're just saving you your cinema ticket. But I like that fact. I mean, in a similar way that I like that about the last Matrix film, the fact that it is a love letter for those characters. But I don't think it's a glowing endorsement from either of you. I think I'm the most positive of the three, and I didn't really like it. So with that, let's move on and see if we can be more positive about this week's Pick of the Streams.
This week is sacred. We're going to Fire Island.
My girls have arrived!
I can't believe you talked me into this again. I come here, I just feel terminally alone.
Oh, are you all right?
It's fine. It happens all the time.
You think they're so superior than everybody else?
I don't think I'm better than you.
You think that if you're vulnerable for 1 second, it's gonna come crashing down.
So that's a look at Fire Island, available now on Disney Plus' Star Channel. Claire, I'm going to come to you first. So we have Noah and Howie. They're heading to Fire Island. This is an LGBT, queer-inflected retelling of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. What did you think?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I went into it, didn't watch the trailer or anything. I was like, I'm just going to go in, watch it. I thought it was so refreshing. I loved the representation. It was really feel good. I loved all the characters. I loved the story. I loved the nostalgia from it as well. Like, you had pure imagination. As soon as you go in there, that's the opening song. And then you have a little sort of karaoke of Sometimes by Britney Spears later on. I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. And I thought it was fantastic.
Okay, so I'm glad. I think we're on similar wavelengths here, because I really enjoyed this. I thought it was fun. Like you, I hadn't seen anything about it, but I went in, a bit like Jurassic World, zero expectations, but for myself, it's quite sweet, it's charming. Yes, a couple of minutes where it kind of verges into kind of shock value, and you get that, and kind of, I can accept that. But I think it's a really solid rom-com. I am a fan of the genre. I'm a fan of a good rom-com. It works well, but then of course it works well because it's using Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice as its source material. And when you sit and think about it, it pretty much is blow for blow using the plot elements of that book, and it worked really well. I was really charmed by it. As I say, I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was a really enjoyable rom-com. James, what about you?
Yeah, it's a beautiful film, just a really beautiful film. Again, like yourselves, hadn't heard anything about it. You told me we'd be reviewing it. I looked up the trailer. I said, okay. I was like, this looks interesting. Stuck it on this afternoon, and yeah, it's just a really nice film. And that's sometimes just what you need. Just a really nice film. And given that this month is Pride Month as well, it's very fitting. So it is. There's not many films, that look at like that kind of love relationship from a same-sex perspective. Of course, you have the likes of Brokeback Mountain, you have Call Me By Your Name and stuff like that. So whenever you get a film like that, they don't come along often, but whenever they do, they always just seem to be really refreshing in how they do it or how they tell their story. So yeah, I really liked this. It was really good.
Yeah, I totally agree, James. I really enjoyed this film. It's unashamedly unabashed. It's not trying to give us a queer love story told through a filter or trying to kind of do anything like that. It's just unabashed, straight up. I really enjoyed it. I mean, we think this week we've seen the fact that Lightyear is going to be banned in certain countries because it shows a kiss between a same-sex couple. I just said to myself, just watch a film like this and just take it for what it is. Claire, before we move on, I'm going to come back to you. You mentioned that you hadn't seen a thing about this. I know you've maybe ventured into answering that, but do you think that really helped, the fact that you just went in knowing so little about the film just to let it wash over you?
Yeah, but I think I would have liked to see it advertised more. I only found out about this whenever you asked us both to review it. I hadn't seen it advertised. I hadn't seen a trailer for it. I hadn't even seen it being talked about on Twitter. Now, obviously, after I watched it, I went on Twitter and people have been talking about it a wee bit on Twitter, but I haven't seen anything about this on social media. I haven't really seen much news about it at all. And I think that's a real shame because it's fantastic. It's great. Yeah, I was a wee bit raging actually that I hadn't seen this advertised.
Claire, just stick that on the poster. I was a wee bit raging I didn't see this advertised. So there we go. I think that's largely a thumbs up from all three of us here for Fire Island. So let's move on to the final movie of this week. Let's move on to our DVD of the week.
You said you're never going to step a foot in Texas again.
I know, this is unexpected.
Oh, nothing with you is unexpected.
Your last job is over 17 years ago. That's quite a gap.
Well, I've worked almost every day for the last 17 years. I moved back in with my wife last week.
No, I'm calling the cops. 9,
Really?
8.
We decided to make a run of it.
I just need a place to crash for a couple of days. What's the big deal?
Mikey.
So that's a look at Red Rocket. It's available now on DVD and Blu-ray. James, going to come to you. So this is the third film from Sean Baker of Tangerine and the Florida Project fame. I'm a huge fan of this filmmaker. Do you want to give a bit of setup for our viewers just before we hear your thoughts on the film?
Yeah, so Simon Rex plays this retired adult entertainer who kind of goes broke and he ends up having to return to his hometown just to try and get some money together, and he ends up falling for a local girl. And it just kind of takes off from there, really.
Well, you say he falls for a teenage girl. I'll come back to that in a moment's time. But what do you think of the film?
Yeah, again, I love the Florida Project. I'm a big fan of it, and with Willem Dafoe, and it's just a really nice film. I'm kind of on the fence about this. It tells this really good story, but kind of some of the messaging sort of behind it, I wasn't really a fan of. I don't know if I can go into spoilers, but I'll maybe just say that his love interest in the film is questionable, and I'll leave it at that. If you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I just find that I was like, why would you? I don't know. I feel like why would you kind of advertise that sort of thing? If the roles were reversed, it'd be kind of a bit weird as such. So yeah, I wasn't really a fan of that, but it was okay. But it just kind of threw me off a bit.
I don't see this as a film that features a love interest between our retired adult entertainer and young 17-year-old Strawberry. This is someone who's coming in and sees the dollar signs. And it reminded me a lot of, if you know what I'm talking about, you will know kind of the references, a lot of like the kind of Linda Loveface kind of stuff is going on. And that's what reminded me a lot. So I love the film. I genuinely really like the film. But it's an interesting film where I don't think, I know I didn't like the leading man, and it's that idea of, do you need to like your central protagonist to enjoy the film? I didn't like this guy, but I love the film. Claire, what about you?
I enjoyed the film, yeah, definitely. No, I didn't enjoy it as much as Fire Island, obviously, but I did enjoy the film. Simon Rex, isn't that the main guy? He's like a real anti-hero, isn't he? He's like, his character kind of reminded me of the characters in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They do the most ridiculous, selfish, self-centered things. You don't really like them, but they're entertaining. I thought it was an interesting story, and I quite liked the music in it as well. It was good. It was decent.
I liked it, Claire. I mean, I liked it. Maybe more than you. I come back to that central thing, and I'll ask you, James. You're not as positive about it, maybe as myself, and I know Claire has mixed feelings about it. But do you think it's a problem, the fact that we have a central protagonist we don't necessarily like? Is that, I know you have issues and you don't want to go into it pre-Watershed, but is it a problem for you that you don't like the central protagonist?
No, it's not even really to do with that. I mean, because you can have a really great film even if you don't like the central protagonist or an anti-hero. Pretty good example of that's Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems. You know, he's quite sleazy, but at the same time you're kind of rooting for him the whole way through. But in this, it's just not even that. It's just that it's one of them films I just don't like it. It's just something about it. And I was sitting through it and I was like, I was expecting more, but at the same time, it just wasn't what I was hoping it was going to be. I was expecting maybe a bit more comedy to it as such from what the trailer had given me. But yeah, it certainly wouldn't be, it's not all to do with the central character and my dislike for him, because like I say, you can have a perfectly good film even if you don't like the main character in it.
Yeah, it's a good point you made. As we say many times in this TV show, advertising men and women will sell their soul to get you to buy a ticket. So I agree with you, the trailer is misleading. I think the poster is a little misleading as well, maybe necessarily so. But like we said last week about Alex Garland, you know, here's another filmmaker with their third film. I still think Sean Baker's a really interesting filmmaker, and I can't wait to see where he goes next. But with that, this is the point of the show where viewers have been waiting anxiously. I get a sense I know where this is going to go, so it might be a bit anticlimactic, but let's move on and wrap up this week's show with our Film of the Week. Okay, so Film of the Week. What is the film of the three movies we've reviewed this week? What would we recommend above all else our viewers seek out? Claire, I get a sense I know where you're going to come into this, but what's your film of the week and why?
Jurassic Park. Fire Island. It was incredible, and I would definitely recommend watching it. Okay,
I'm tempted to go Fire Island too, but James, where are you going to go?
Yeah, there's no doubt. Like, Fire Island is the better of the three, and it's quite an important film as well. I feel for Pride Month. You know, I think everyone should sit down and watch it if they can. So yeah.
I'm tempted to say Fire Island for mine, but I'll throw in Red Rocket because I did really enjoy it and I really like Sean Baker. But you know, Fire Island is a perfect film to watch, a really good film to watch this weekend. Okay, so there you have it. This week, our film of the week is Fire Island. It's available on Disney Plus now. And if you don't like it, you can blame these two. And that's us pretty much out of time. So all that's left for me to do now is thank my two guests. So thank you very much, Claire.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, James.
Thank you, Jim.
And thank you very much for watching at home. We'll be back next week with another episode. But for now, until then, goodbye.